just by me standing up there in front of Jennifer Lopez and Keith Urban, I'm just going, I was born by the river in a little town.
Folks, before we start this episode, if you could do one thing, would you please hit that subscribe button? It really helps us out. So, I'd like to ask you this. For folks who don't play instruments but feel like they have melodies in their head and ways to express, do you have to be able to play an instrument to necessarily write music, or do you feel that ideas can come from anything, and that do you know people who have melodies that maybe can't express themselves in traditional music sense?
Absolutely. I think that's what collaboration is for. I think if there is an amazing writer that doesn't naturally play any instrument or want to pick that up, then I think the easiest way to solve it is to find a friend or someone who plays the instrument as good as you write the songs.
There you
So
look
the
at that. That's how we found it.
Yeah, that would be step one. It's difficult to write songs a cappella. I think that is because you have no real frame of reference unless it's gonna live a cappella forever.
Like if we're gonna do the Carmen Sandiego theme song again, or like Straight Up No Chaser, or we actually could do it a cappella.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. All right, that's good. I'm glad. So that was my not so veiled way of saying I'll see you in the studio, because I have not been blessed with actual physical instruments, but more sort of air flugelhorn, which now I hear there's actually quite a market for.
I will say you have good pitch.
Hey, thank you.
Flugelhorn or bugle, whatever you want to call it, showed me that you at least have a reference of pitch. You're not tone deaf.
That's right. I know, it's contrary to what some people might say. Do you have a crazy story of being on the road, or from just a concert, or anything that's whether like just really funny or just a wild story? I love asking musicians this, because I know when you go out on tour, it can be a little, things can get a little nutty out there.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do it live is a real thing. We did last summer, actually. We went to Ohio and we did a festival show. It's called Wonderbus. It was an awesome festival, but in any festival, the changeover is really, really quick. You got 30 minutes max, and it's kind of just like come in, plug it in, make sure everything's running. The house guys over on the side stage, like, yeah, I got the signal you're sending. So we're trying to run tracks. The show's rehearsed up. It's so good, but it's a simple version of the show. It's me, a drummer, and a guitar player, and we're running, a couple tracks that just help fill it out. And so we're super pumped to go do this. And it was hot, really hot. So the laptop completely overheats, and so when he would play the tracks, it would speed up and then slow down, and then speed up and skip like the whole track. So we start the show, we're out of time, like there's nothing else we can do. So we're like, all right, let's just do it and hope that the laptop works. And we hit play, we start the first song, and the thing is just like running. And I look back at the drummer, and he's like, what am I gonna do to this? We're moving faster, we're moving slower. Like, how am I supposed to? So then we killed the tracks, and we did basically the whole show just on electric guitar, no bass, drums, and me just on vocals. And I just acted like that was the way the show was designed, and nobody really knew that there was anything wrong. Even the techs were like, I could have sworn that was the way you guys rehearsed it. It was phenomenal. And to us, it was this major, major malfunction, meltdown, like the worst thing that could have happened. The computer basically exploded. But the people that were there, like, it actually didn't really matter, and they didn't even notice any different. So I'll probably have more stories for you because we're about to go drive around the entire country in a Sprinter van for an entire month on this Marky Basie tour, starting in Minneapolis, and we end in San Diego, actually. And so that'll be interesting.
That's
I'm sure
awesome. We'll have to get together for that flugelhorn session. I'll be there, with my JohnK sign. Before we continue, though, a brief word from one of our sponsors. Yes, we have sponsors. You know the drill. Listen up. If you're like me, you wake up every morning, stare in the mirror, and ask yourself, could I be any cooler? Well, the answer is yes. Unless you're sleeping on the Chili Sleep Uller sleep system, you're probably sleeping hot, hot, hot. And that, as we say, is not cool. The Chili Sleep Uller Sleep System hydro-powered temperature-controlled mattress topper keeps your body at optimal temperature so you don't exit REM sleep a second too early. To radically, completely, and utterly change your life for the better, head on over to chilisleep.com/went camping and get a special offer just for our Went Camping listeners. That's chilisleep.com/went camping. Trust me, you're not going to want to sleep on this offer. Okay. You have a crazy story about how you met your manager. I love this story. Tell me, tell us, tell the world, tell the dozens of people listening right now.
To all 12 of you, it all started. You want the whole story? How abbreviated do you want it?
I want. Yeah. This is a great. We can make this TikTokable right now. Where I hate to say it, it's funny. The single album question is actually pretty relevant for podcasting too, because I can either do the long form, which I'm about long form, just have two friends having a conversation. However, marketing considerations, it is good to structure things and prompt things for the explicit creation of TikTok clips, which helps everything go viral. So we'll do this one for a TikTok. So try to do like a minute version. JohnK, you have a crazy story about how you met your manager. This is so cool. What happened?
So this guy had heard of me. I was living in Nashville. He hired me to come sing at his wedding. I was hiding in the room. I surprised him and his wife. And now he starts to challenge me. He starts calling me all the time. Hey, what are you doing? What are you up to? What are you writing? Your voice is better than your music. You should come down. I'm like, dude, you don't know anything about music. What do you know about music? And I came down and we wrote a song together. And that got us in the studio. And then we started writing more songs together. And then one of the girls that I had met at that wedding, I'm now married to. So he became my manager. We started attacking it. Just us said, let's go get it. Let's go figure it out, what it means to be an artist. We decided on the name JohnK. I moved down to Orlando to be with that girl who then I married. And then everything started to happen from that point forward.
Okay, that's amazing. So many questions. How did this guy know about you? Were you on a show or something? And then two, what made you decide, I'm going to go to a relative stranger's wedding? Granted, it worked out for you, which we'll get into, but that doesn't seem like, is that how easy it is? Do I just call up Ed Sheeran and be like, that little number you did, Thinking Out Loud, I'd like to be really original and use that as a first dance.
Right. Yeah, his paycheck is probably a little more than mine. I was on American Idol back in the day. My grandmother made me go, and it was my first audition for anything, and ended up being the promotional commercial for the entire season. Nice. And it was at that point I think I knew my life was changed, or I felt like, at least I always felt like that was a glimpse, and I felt like strongly that God revealed the purpose for me. He showed me a little bit of a taste, and it was at the highest pressure with moving cameras and judges and contestants and all of this high pressure stuff, and I loved it. But he said, you're not ready for this yet. And I wasn't. I don't think spiritually, I don't think I was mature enough to really handle what that could have meant. And that door was closed, and I left the show before the show went to top 10, which in hindsight was a good thing because I never had to sign the contract or go on the tour or do a lot of that stuff. But at the time it was confusing. Like, I thought this was it for me, and we decided to move to Nashville. I remember one of the judges, one of the producers of the show. He grabbed me after I got cut, and he said, you have undeniable talent. If you go underground for 5 years, write a ton of songs, you're going to be just fine. And I really took that to heart, on my way out. Even though when you're in it and you're young, you're like, this is it. From that point forward, I knew I liked the feeling, the adrenaline, the getting out there and just being super vulnerable and rising to the challenge and delivering. But I was inspired to go figure out how to write a song. And that's why I moved to Nashville. And I moved to Nashville, A, because I had met some friends from the show, and B, because I had no idea how to write a song. And so I was doing basically just like singing covers out, doing some performances here and there, just me, and wrote a couple songs that I believed in. But I got a call while I was in Nashville just trying to put the pieces together. This guy who was like, I think that you are the best singer I've ever heard. I think you should have easily won that show. And I would love to know if you would be down to come sing at my wedding. And I was like, that's real. And it was years out. It was a couple of years after the show. So the fact that that I was still relevant 2 seasons later to this guy and had made an impression based on the little amount of airtime that I had made me consider it. And I thought that could be fun, go sing a song at a wedding and.
And what a fateful decision that was, because you end up meeting someone special at this wedding, who would become your ultimate collaborator. All right, so I love asking this. First impressions, if I know she's not here to give her side of the story, but what was your first impression of your now wife, and what would she say was her impression? Because I'm a little concerned this doesn't seem like an equitable playing field, that you are singing at a wedding and you're insanely talented and you happen to meet this girl. I mean, it seems like, it's a pretty good, strong position to start from.
And that's the best part, because her first impression was she wasn't impressed.
Really?
Yeah. And we didn't actually start talking until 8 months later. My first impression was absolutely beautiful. It sucks that she's taken, because she was there with a significant other at the time. She had a boyfriend.
Okay.
But so she was also in a band growing up, and she doesn't tell anybody this, but she was the lead singer and very talented. And the MD of their band, which was in Long Island, happened to be the MD that worked my season of American Idol, putting all of those arrangements together. So we had a small but mutual platonic reason to stay in touch. Hey, how's everything going with music? I sent the MD some of your stuff, and he said that he remembered you and said, what's up? It was like, a couple months later, one of those maybe. Another couple months later, something. And then Rob, who's my manager, who I sang at his wedding, his wife, Shay, texted me 8 months later and said, weird question, I know, but are you seeing anybody right now? And I was like, who's asking? Is it Lene? Because if so, I will be there tomorrow. And
if not, then I'm taken.
Yeah, exactly. And it was, and I literally went to Orlando the next day, and we went out to dinner, and after that we started texting, and we never stopped. And
wait, so were they matchmaking, or had Lene broken up and then asked about you? Because she wasn't.
Yeah, so they had. I didn't know, but they had broken up like shortly after the wedding.
I see, and I'm sure your performance had nothing to do with that.
I don't think it did. At least my wife would hold on to the fact that it didn't have anything to do with that.
I don't know, because I don't know. I've just, this whole thing is, you mentioned, you're a person of faith. I'm curious, do you think God orchestrates who you end up with, or do you think it's sort of like obviously love is a choice, but like, do you think that do you look back and go, man, I think God just had this person picked out for me?
Yeah. If you open yourself up to it and you actually listen, I think my biggest problem was how much I would get in my own way with decision making, or with even being open to hearing what the Holy Spirit has to say about things. But I'm a big believer in God opening doors for you that are supposed to open, and creating little resistance for good things to kind of happen one after the other. And so when I stopped getting in my own way, and I felt, and there's a feeling attached to it that you can kind of feel. And I know my mom has been praying for me since she's a huge prayer warrior.
Oh, does she have a war room? Is she like one of those, like, just like, I mean, just like
Like,
covering you in prayer, like just
my whole life, yeah.
taking names and just kicking spiritual butt?
She has been going in for me on my behalf, so thanks, Mom. But yeah, it was just easy and natural, and I think that came from God. And then I think when it comes to soulmates, you choose that when you put the ring on the finger and when you make the vow, and it's true, but it comes along with the choice that you made and the vows that you give to each other to say, I'm vowing before God and man that you are my soulmate. So I think it is something that I feel like I genuinely feel like I was always supposed to find Lene, and my only regret is I feel like I wish I would have found her earlier, but God knew, and none of the success in my career happened until I found my partner, my rock, somebody who would keep me tethered to the ground, someone who always had my back and always made sure that I was strong spiritually. Before I would go out into this secular war zone, or I'd go out into this industry that can throw you a million directions, and before you know it, your sound is different, your look is different, your identity gets, it's really important to have a strong foundation of consistency. And there's no better reflection of that in my life than my wife, who her main priority is my soul, and her main priority is that I am who she knows me to be in my best, and she knows when I'm not that also, and it's valuable.
That's awesome. So you mentioned prayer warrior. You obviously come from a robust spiritual lineage. Do you, besides Lene, which we'll call the ultimate answer to prayer there, do you have a story or something that, is there a time when you feel like God moved pretty dramatically, or do you have we've been asking spooky stories on this show, which everyone's got a little spooky one, but it sounds like, you might have something that's a little, mysterious or kind of fun, like,
Yeah.
that God may have done in your life.
I have kind of a combination.
Let's do it.
What came to mind is, my stepfather is a pastor of a non-denominational Christian church down in Jupiter, Florida. Incredible church, Calvary Chapel, Jupiter. And I used to spend summers with them, and there was always this weird stuff that would happen on Saturday nights before he was going to go preach the next morning. And so Saturday nights, it was like that house was under attack. And there's so many different nights, but it's the reason that I don't go to bed listening. I'll never sleep with headphones in, listening to music, or especially not radio. Because one time, it was Saturday night, and I had I think it was like a Walkman or like the FM, CD FM kind of a thing. And I was listening to, I don't know, pop radio or something. And I fell asleep with it on. And I had this dream. And it started out, it was dark, and I couldn't really see where I was, and I could hear, it was more audible than even visual, and I could hear somebody really, really far away screaming in pain. And I remember trying to search for that, and then there was another voice that popped up, and it was 2, and then it was 5 people kind of all around me, spatial audio, and then before you know it, it was hundreds and then thousands, and it became this crushing, overbearing like noise of just fear and pain and screaming. And I couldn't see much, but I could just feel the pain, and like I felt like my eardrums were gonna burst, and I was afraid, and I felt like I was listening to hell. That's the only way I can describe it, is I could hear it. And I remember a verse coming to me, or I remember saying, like, if you say the name of Jesus Christ, like, nothing can harm you. And I remember in the dream, like, saying, like, help me, Jesus. And the second I even said the J, I woke up, and this main pop radio station was static in my headphones, in my ears. And I remember and I threw it across the room, and I remember it just shattering on the wall on the other side. And I just knew that it was something more, and it was maybe it was a path or a gateway, or it opened a door through radio waves, but I was somehow experiencing something, that I was somewhere I wasn't supposed to be.
So that was when you woke up. That wasn't the dream. So does this happen in the dream, or when you woke up and it was playing and you said that name, it went to static?
No, in the dream I said it, and then I woke up and it was static in my headphones.
Wow.
It was just static, and I never understood why a main. I mean, this was like a 107, or this was like a Y100.
Like 24/7. They're not going to go.
Why would it? If something went down, I guess it would be static. But a main radio station, even at 3 a.m, isn't static, right?
No, wow. And for our younger listeners, could you explain what a Walkman is? So.
Yeah, it's this archaic thing where you used to plug in these fuzzy phone headphones and try to tune yourself to the radio.
And actually, I should be clarified. A radio, for our younger listeners, a radio is an archaic device that was used to communicate across long distances. Yes. It's a simpler time, but it's how we would consume our music, right? And we had cassette tapes, CDs, and even just iTunes, downloading on iTunes, man.
Yeah. I didn't really have any. I kind of was late to the cassette party, but CDs, yeah. CDs.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
I remember when I got my first anti-shock CD Walkman, and I could run with it. Game changer. And it was like giant, like this. It looks like Batman's utility belt on it. Yeah.
Super.
I know. It was like, man, those are the old days. Yeah, you used to not be able to run. Now you got to watch, and it's just like beaming music, into your head.
Yeah. Don't even need one or anything.
As we get near the end of our indoor camping session here, you're a pretty inspirational guy, and I love that you care so much about just impacting others, etc. I want to ask you a couple questions about just wisdom and kind of inspiration for people right now. First off, if anyone out there is going, I think I have what it takes, or I love music, I love creating it, I love the way it makes people feel, and that song is kind of singing to them right now. What advice do you have for them if they're thinking about taking the plunge and moving to Nashville, or just taking stock of their life right now? What do you say to all the future John K's, the John K 2.0s?
Just believe it, do it. I mean, I think the main word that I am constantly telling myself is be passionate. You have to be the most passionate person in the room when it comes to your music, and if you really, really are passionate with that, then your body will follow that, and your decisions will follow that. And so I think it starts with really asking yourself, like, do I actually love this, or do I love the idea of it? And then if you find that truth, and the truth is I was put on this earth to make music, and you believe that truth, I was put on this earth to make music, and then you have to make it true every single day. It's not enough to just like get emotional and be like, you know what, one day, like, this is a long, long, long road, and it doesn't get any easier. The more that I'm in it, the longer I realize, like, every single song starts as nothing, and you have to get better at creating this experience from the ground up to a higher bar. Like the pipe dream when I was fresh into it is like, oh man, by album 3, my music's gonna sound like this, and that's not how it works. That is how it works if you continue to grow at a fast pace, and you get more disciplined and fall more in love with it, and then have to go back into that truth again and say and remind yourself in low points that I'm put on this earth to make music, and then you have to reinvest in yourself and your belief that it doesn't get easier, it actually gets harder, because you have more references of what did work, what doesn't work. And I think it's important to, as you try to figure out who you are as a producer or as an artist, also keep close tabs on who you don't want to be and who you're not. I think that's equally as important, and it protects you from going down creative roads that you would look back on a couple years later and be like, what was I doing there? So the constant kind of self-reflection, keeping in mind who you are, who you want to be, and who you definitely know you're not, will really help guide you on this crazy, crazy, crazy life path. And surround yourself by great people, and be the dumbest person in the room.
So be the dumbest and the most passionate. I love that. Be passionate. It could be your autobiography. Passionately Dumb, the John K. story.
That's perfect.
We got a song there. And for those who maybe are out there and they're kind of crossing the chasm, they're cranking out music, they're going, is this ever going to work, etc. Do you have any practical tips too for, just getting your music out there, or how to best leverage, Spotify or any of the DSPs or anything that you've, assimilated over your years?
Just challenge your bar, and always, song by song, the goal is, it's not for me to, if I sing this good enough, it's gonna work. If the concept is clever enough, it's gonna work. If it's none of that, is the connection real? Is my connection inside of this song to what people are feeling, is it genuine? Because people know the difference, and they don't know why they know the difference, but they do. And that's why ultimately we went with the demo vocal. The second that If We Never Met was being written, we got in the booth and we just scratched it out, and I tried to re-record that song 10 times, and nothing ever beat the demo vocal, because it was real. And I was really, really feeling it. The other times after, when I was re-recording, I was mimicking the first recording, and it just never got any better. So be genuine and challenge yourself constantly, and have a really, really high bar for yourself. Because once your vision once your sonics and the technical side of everything that goes into music can audibly match your vision for it, you're gonna have less resistance, and God is gonna open those doors, because you're being honest, you're being genuine, and you're doing what you were put on this earth to do. And if you have those 3 things working for you, then nothing can really hold you back.
Amen. Oh man. Well, I think to finish up, we have an amazing singer-songwriter here, so we probably just got to go out on a couple good notes. Get that?
Nice.
That's good there. All right.
So we talked about Sam Cooke, and
yeah,
what was the song that I sang in American Idol?
Let's go for it.
Years ago, and it was ultimately why Rob called me to come sing at his wedding, which ultimately led to everything that we've covered today. So
led to Lene.
Yeah, just by me standing out there in front of Jennifer Lopez and Keith Urban, I'm just going, I was born by the river in a little town. Oh, and just like the river I've been running ever since. it will. It's been too hard living, yeah. But I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's out there beyond the sky. It's been a long, long, long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh yes it will. Yes it will. Ooh, change is gonna come. Oh yes it will. Something like that, you know? I thank you.
Oh my gosh, I love Sam Cooke so much. When I was a kid, Another Saturday Night was just like on repeat all the time. One of my all-time favorites. That's awesome. Thank you so much for blessing us with that. Folks, as we wrap up today, I think it only appropriate, since I have a platinum artist here, JohnK, I think I don't have a theme song. I think that's probably a major mishap, and probably you talked about removing obstacles to success, and I saw what you did with a giraffe, which made me laugh more than half, and you can see that I can bust rhymes like that. So perhaps I could commission you early on to maybe. Do you have any ideas for a theme song for camping? I think that's pretty much what's holding me back right now.
Yeah, they made this amazing one. It's called Kumbaya.
Okay, let's try it.
No. Campfires all in the day. And I feel there you go. There's your melody. So
It feels like a good spoken narration. Like, do you need inspiration right now? Like, it's like church. You can do the little like, this is a message out there for someone right now. Can I get a little instrumental music in the background?
right. If you need inspiration, just sit down and we can talk it out. By the campfire, it's burning out. Where the campfire is burning out loud. The campfire's burning out loud.
I love that. Oh, look at that. Campfire Burn Out Loud on our new hit album, Animal Crackers, featuring also the lead single, Giraffe. Right, Giraffe.
They're on a different level, man. They're on a different level.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Anything you want to, before we sign off, anything you're working on right now you want to plug, and I'll prompt it? We can do a TikTok clip out of it, or anything you're excited about, I can promo for you. All right, I'll ask you. John, we're about to take off here. The fire's getting low, and I know you got to go. I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but we are out of time. So I wanted to ask you, what's next? What are you working on right now? What are you stoked on?
We're putting together the next album, and it's the same thing, it's creating the entire body and then focusing on ones that raise their hand. So the first one off the new album is A Lot. The song, that's the name of it, just came out. And we did a video and everything for it, and we're going to be pushing it as I go on tour with Marky Basie for 19 shows all across the country, stopping at radio to talk about A Lot at the same time, leading us to, I'm 90% sure I know the title of the next single, but I'm still going to hold on to it for a little bit because I'm not 100 yet. Following it up quickly, and then that's all going to lead to what will be the third album. So, we're moving, man. Songs are coming together. I'm challenging myself. I'm cleansing myself from the inside out. Getting rid of anything that doesn't serve me, and just committing to being the best version of myself that I've ever been this year.
I love that. Or as we say as we said in LA, I love that for you. So
Yeah.
oh my gosh, JohnK, thank you so much. This has been amazing and shockingly free of technical issues. So perhaps that prayer warrior lineage is paying off. I got to admit, I had my doubts, but as we know from Dune, fear is the mind killer.
Yeah. That.
Folks, this has been JohnK. Go check him out. We'll post all his socials. Download his music. Stream it. Go listen to all his amazing songs. We have hit songs a lot. 6 months, Parachute, If We Never Met. Go listen to them now and do the world a favor and yourself a favor. So thank you so much, everybody, for camping with us, and we will see you next time. Ciao. Thanks for joining us, folks. If you want to help us out, and we're confident you do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button here on our YouTube channel. And if you ever feel like just listening to these, you can check us out on all major podcast streaming platforms by just searching for I Went Camping With. And there, you should also subscribe. Thanks again, folks.